Influencer marketing. You talk about it in the book.
Yeah.
I don't want to beat up on anyone, so I'm going to let you do the talking on this one.
Look, we do a lot of influencer marketing in my company, so I'm not anti-influencer marketing at all. But influencer marketing is not a word of mouth strategy. It's not the same thing. Influencer marketing is essentially halfway between word of mouth and an ad. And so to find some sort of celebrity who has disproportionate audience and convince that person, typically with cash, that they should promote your business, I'm not suggesting that doesn't work. It can work. But once that person stops talking about you, what are you left with, right? So it really is it's a short-term advertising-esque approach to acquiring attention. And again, I'm not suggesting it's a bad idea, but it's not the same as what we're talking about here.
That's a great point. So would you encourage that a company try to develop a relationship with an influencer that would make sense for their brand?
Well, here's how we would do it, actually. This is how we do it in my company at Convince and Convert, is you roll out the talk trigger first. And then if you want to try and expand awareness of the talk trigger, you get an influencer to talk about the talk trigger, right? As opposed to about the so if I was Skip's Kitchen, as we talked about earlier, doesn't really do a lot of advertising. They don't have to. They're line around the door to get in. But if I was Skip, I would say, hey, let's find a local celebrity in Sacramento and convince that person to take an Instagram video of them playing the Joker game that we talked about earlier. Right. That's how it tied together.
Now let's talk about social media. We know that you touched on it earlier, or maybe it was when we were off the air, about word of mouth, and then meanwhile there's Facebook, there's Instagram, and of course that's the platform that people are, chatting. So how does that all play out?
We talk about this in the book, and there's some really great quotes in there from Andy Cernovitz, who wrote a terrific book called Word of Mouth Marketing many years ago, and he's really passionate about this, as am I, that social media and word of mouth are not the same thing. Right? That's like saying that a tube of toothpaste and the toothpaste in the tube are the same thing. In this analogy, social media is the tube and word of mouth is the toothpaste. Social media is just a delivery mechanism for a story.
Right.
Word of mouth is about the story, whether it's face-to-face, as we are here together in studio today, or whether it's via Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Yelp, TripAdvisor, Angie's List. It doesn't matter. It's not the same thing. Being good at Facebook isn't the same as being good at word of mouth, because Facebook is just a delivery mechanism. It's a carrying case for your story. So you can't just say, well, we've got some followers, therefore we have a consistent story being told. No, that's not the same thing.
So how would you advise a company in order so that they do encourage the clients? Like, many businesses will have a sign on the wall, like us on Facebook. Do you advise that a good idea, bad idea? Or is it just?
I don't know that I would say like us on Facebook on the wall, because that's essentially saying, we exist. They know you have a Facebook page, right? And they're going to like you or not like you. I think the better way to do it is, again, tie it back to the talk trigger and say, okay, if you win the Joker game at Skips, right? Maybe the cashier, and this doesn't happen, but it could, signs with a Sharpie the actual Joker card and gives it to you, right? And then says, hey, we have a photo contest for all the winners, because 3 people a day win, as I think I told you.
Right.
Have a photo contest, and at the end of the month, whoever has the best photo on Instagram or Facebook wins a second prize, right? So you're just sort of nudging them to share in social, although typically they would do it on their own.
Any other tips specifically, let's say, for Instagram?
I think partially for Instagram in particular, a lot of it is just doing something in the physical environment of your business that is worthy of a photo, right? I did a webinar recently with a hotel brand, and they were talking. It was really fascinating how when they design their lobbies, really, really specific about colors and having like a funny pillow with a saying on it, and having a really interesting, weird coffee table that people want to take pictures of. Instagram is about novel and beauty. And so if you don't give somebody novel and you don't give them beauty, and you're like, how come no one takes photos? It's like, because you don't have any good photos here.
This brings to mind, it's flying through my head, when we spoke last on the air from Hug Your Haters. So you said social media made But customer service, a spectator sport.
Spectator sport. That's right.
Such a great
yeah,
line. I
yeah,
remember
it's
that.
true because
And
now
that's the
everybody
other
can
way.
see how you handle it, right?
Yeah, so
like you've
that's-
got an Instagram shot here, like the light bulbs over your shoulder.
Right.
Right. That's the Insta. Somebody said, "What's the Instagram shot in this studio?"
Right.
It's right there.
It's those
That's
bulbs.
the shot, right?
Thank you, Shirley. He say
You
deck
just
out
got to
the
have a thing,
studio.
right?
Got to have it. Are there certain industries that rely on word of mouth or can benefit from word of mouth more than others?
Interesting question.
Now, in the book, you do talk about B2B, B2C.
Yeah,
I
I
although
would say
yeah.
this. Like, let me answer it this way.
Sure.
I believe with every fiber of my being
Okay.
that every company can benefit from a talk trigger. Every company. I don't care if you're big, small, B2B, B2C, restaurant, defense contractor, Russian company, Mexican, coffee company. It doesn't matter because every company has customers and those customers talk. Or they should talk. Right. So it is universally applicable like nothing else I've ever worked on, which is really exciting for me. What I will tell you is that customer expectations are different for different businesses.
Right.
So as a result, what is different enough to get them talking will vary. And you talked about B2B. That's the part that's fascinating to me. Yeah. Most business-to-business companies are so incredibly boring. It's like they're trying to have a boring contest. Like, how perfunctory and mundane can we possibly be? So if you do a talk trigger in B2B, sometimes it's actually easier and more effective because people don't expect anything in B2B to be even remotely interesting.
Great point. Another important question, and that what happens when a business has a negative word, out there, potentially on social media, or there's just a bad rumor floating around? How could talk trigger play into that and start to stem the tide and even send it back in the right course?
Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't really thought of it that way. I did a lot of work on social media crisis management in my first book, The Now Revolution, many, many years ago. I think a talk trigger can help in that regard, especially if it becomes... put it this way. If I was a company that had some kind of recent negative story, I would do whatever possible to get a talk trigger put into the field quickly, because you're giving somebody a different story to tell. The story isn't about whatever. It's about this other thing that's more interesting and less negative. And so, that's how I would handle it. Yeah.
So grabbing control of the
Just change
narrative,
the narrative,
and
yeah.
then
Yep.
Okay, we have actually only 2 minutes left.
great.
Okay, can talk triggers be leveraged in a company's marketing campaign? Like, for example, a company wins an award. How can they amplify it?
Yeah, that's actually what we call it in the book, is amplify your trigger. Doubletree Hotels is one of the examples in the book. They give people a warm chocolate chip cookie when they check in. They create every year a cookie recipe book that they give away and sell.
Amazing.
And do
Even
public
though it has
relations.
nothing to do with really what they do.
Right, but it has everything to do with their talk trigger,
Right.
right? So their talk trigger is sort of the nucleus of the marketing campaign around it, which is a really smart way to do it.
So the book fuels it. It's an accelerant to their talk
That's
trigger.
It. Yep.
Jay, we are basically out of time. 1 minute left. What takeaway could you encourage, or what takeaway could you please share with the listeners of Mind Your Business?
Competency does not create conversation. Same is lame. The more you try to fit in, the more your customers will tune out. Have the courage to do one thing different in your business, one thing different enough that your customers will talk about it, and they will tell your story. And when your customers tell your story, that's the best way to grow your business.
Jay, I cannot thank you enough for being with me here in
My
studio.
pleasure. It was a blast. One thing real quick before we go.
Yes.
There's a talk trigger for the book Talk Triggers.
Oh,
Which
okay.
there should be. On the back of the book right here, it says, satisfaction guaranteed. If you bought this book and didn't like it, go to talktriggers.com and send the authors, that's me, a note. They'll buy you any other book of your liking, and we will. So if for whatever reason you buy this book and you don't like it, and you want like a first edition Talmud or something, you let me know. We'll make it happen. We'll figure it out. We'll make it happen. That's our promise to you. That's our talk.
I love the honor of interviewing C-level executives and sharing their great advice and perspective on Mind Your Business. I'd love to get your feedback. Post it in the comments below and subscribe. You'll never miss an edition of Mind Your Business.